All right, I got my new hubs. They're crown replacement hubs. As you see, they're machined on the back for the rotor. I've already installed the races, and now I'm getting ready to install the rotor and the studs, and then pack the bearings and get ready to put it on the axle so I can have a roll around axle ready to go. This is our arbor press. Not a lot of people are familiar with them, but it's a very simple press, and it works very well for things like wheel studs and putting pinion bearings on the actual pinion and installing the seals and things like that, because it'll push it in true, and it's just lever operated, works really well. I'm going to use it to put the wheel studs in. All right, both hubs are ready to go with new studs and new rotors. Just got to pack bearings and put the seals in. Now I'm going to get the axle actually in the shop so I can work on it and make it a roller. All right, the axle's all up in the shop, up on jack stands, and now I need to clean up a few things on it and pack the wheel bearings and get the new hubs and rotors on so I can slap the tires on it. It's time for, I think, everyone's most dreaded activity when it comes to vehicles. It's time to pack the wheel bearings. My 4-pound tub of grease, which, by the way, 4-pound tub of grease is $14. A 1-pound tub is $7. So do the math. If you got vehicles and you need enough grease to do wheel bearings quite a bit, it's way cheaper to buy the tub and keep it around. Now off to doing wheel bearings and then having to clean my hands so I can do anything afterwards. Another thing, I have never seen a seal like this before. It's a Timken seal, and if you look, it looks almost identical front and back. It is slightly different. You can see it's got double grooves and one big groove. And I'm not entirely positive which way's out and which way's in. But I've never seen a seal quite made like that before. Okay. We got the hubs all on, new rotors, new studs, new wheel bearings. I'll have to take it all back apart again though, because I'm gonna have to eventually re-gear the front end and probably put ball joints in it and some kind of a locker. I don't know if I talked about before, I ended up getting a heavy-duty tie rod from actually Rugged Ridge, which is kind of not normally me, but for the price, it wasn't too bad, and it's great, lot larger tie rod ends, so we're going to use it. My next thing I need to do is cut off these old spring perches that somebody put on here to do a spring over job on a CJ at some time. And then after that, we can bolt the tires on and have an axle that rolls around. I may go ahead and put the leaf springs on it too, so I have some handle and be able to move it around and be ready for whenever it's time to go in frame. All right, perches are all off. Came off fairly easy, not a big deal. Not too many big indentations from grinding, getting the old perches off. This side's got a little bit, but not enough that I think I'm going to worry about it. So next up, we're going to try to get tires bolted on this thing. All right, got the tires mocked up on it. It's all ready to go. Makes this thing look huge with these tires on the thing. But I guess really the next thing is, I think I'm going to try to put the springs on if I can find all the U-bolts and plates I have laying around and get that done. Make things a lot easier. All right, the front axle's ready to be mocked up in the vehicle whenever I get it eventually. Have all the hubs on. I have the leaf springs bolted underneath of it. This side is definitely temporary on the passenger side. Need to work on making some high clearance spring mounts or spring plates to permanently do it. And I think I'm going to cheat and push the axle forward 1 inch on the perch, so I have less overhang in the front, so the tire is closer to the front of the spring. So obviously a little bit better approach angle and give me another about 1 inch of wheelbase. So overall, we're getting close to being ready to start mocking things up. I just need to get the actual Jeep and start tearing into it. I should be getting a rear axle possibly tomorrow, so I can start working on that and getting it ready for mock-up also. Well, I've acquired a rear axle for the project. It's a Dana 44 that would have been in a 73 to 76 CJ5. This particular one has a 373 and a track lock in it, also known as a trash lock. I'd almost prefer to have an open carrier, but end result, I'd like to put an aux locker in it so I can have a selectable rear with a Detroit or Grizzly in the front. Last night, my son helped me grind down the welds from the old perches. Somebody had perches on top for a spring over of some sort, and the rims of some type of lower shock mount, and those are all ground down. But my biggest thing is now there's some pretty good grooves where the U-bolts ran on this at one time on both sides. So I'm probably gonna go ahead and just weld those up and take my time so I don't warp the tube and grind it back down smooth. I'd rather do it now while it's easy to do than later when I have a problem. So that's the beginnings of this rear axle. Need to figure out my brake situation also, which I'll probably use Brennan's kit to use the electric parking brake for like a Ford Fusion. But that can wait for right now. I got a lot of other things to worry about, like making the lower spring plates and a few other things. Here I'm gonna use a old offset spring plate to use as a template to drill a new hole in the existing spring perch. And that's going to offset the rear end on the springs back 1 inch. So that's what we're going to do here.